There have been major reports of an overhaul within the FBI. Over 20 senior officials at the Bureau were reassigned, and there's an ongoing process to review the positions of thousands of FBI agents, particularly those involved in the J6 investigations. Kash Patel isn't even the FBI director yet. So here to break this all down for us is Steve Friend. He's an FBI whistleblower and host of the American Radicals podcast. So Steve, thanks for joining us. It looks to me like, is the FBI right now already being reformed before Kash Patel is even confirmed?
It certainly appears that way. I mean, this was sort of a project that went on Thursday and Friday was when the Order 66 went out from the acting deputy attorney general while Kash Patel was in the middle of his confirmation hearing in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee. And that's when the order went out to remove some of these high-ranking individuals. And thing to remember also, the FBI had been promoting people in the very lead up to Donald Trump's inauguration. So a lot of these people don't even have their stripes sewn to their sleeves yet, a lot of Velcro there. So they were sort of planting the ground for a lot of insurrectionists, if you will, within the FBI, anticipating Kash Patel's directorship. And the acting deputy AG got on it, removed those people, and that carried forward even into Friday when they went after the individuals who were really zeroing in on the classified documents case at Mar-a-Lago, and the January 6th case is up for review, and even the Crossfire Hurricane case.
See, let's talk about that, because I mean, I want to hear what it was like for you. It must have been incredible. But Thursday and Friday were some of the best days of the winning in my mind, watching this unfold throughout the country. What do you know about this 12-question survey that they gave out in regards to January 6th and these other incidents? I mean, were they just looking for everyone involved and they're going to analyze it? Have they already fired people, or what's going on there?
Some people associated with January 6th have been removed, but really this pertains to the nature of my whistleblower disclosure. I wish that they had actually come to me, and I probably could have gotten them so they weren't taken by surprise. It seems to me that the Trump DOJ did not know the size and scope of the January 6th investigations from within the FBI. They thought it was probably limited to a certain number of agents, very much like Crossfire Hurricane or the classified documents case, when in fact it's somewhere between 4,000 and 6,000 employees, because the FBI took one case, as it should have been managed, from Washington, D.C. in one location, and decided to open a separate case, up to 2,400 of them, and spread them around the country to the offices where the person resided. So we create the false image that there's domestic terrorism around the country, when in fact there were people who were standing on the Capitol grass on the outside. And now they're going to have to vet through all of it and see just how much people were involved. Were they just covering a lead to do an interview, or were they closing down an anonymous tip, or were they actually involved in the persecution that went on over the last 4 years? And those are the people who are going to have to held accountable. And it's not going to be people who just followed orders. Is not going to be the acceptable excuse at this point. Nuremberg did not work out well 80 years ago, and it shouldn't this time.
Well, it is exciting to see changes already, even without Kash Patel, but he was in front of the Senate for his confirmation hearing. So what were your main takeaways when you saw him up there last week?
I was very confident in Kash's ability to come forward. I mean, he's a prior litigator, so he's used to that pugilistic give and take that he was going to anticipate getting from the Democrats there. But he put out a very strong message. The fact that he set up pillars for and promised to be transparent, the one thing that we have not seen from the prior director and actually his predecessor, the refrain of can't comment on an ongoing investigation, or I'm sorry, sir, we can't give you sources and methods. Kash Patel said, no, we're done with that. We're going to answer these questions, which I think that should be bipartisan support for. He also promised to get back to the mission being to protect the American people against fraud and force, and to focus in on process. The process is the victory for law enforcement. You gather the facts and present them. And if those facts support a conviction, that's because of the facts. If they don't, that's because those are the facts. It doesn't matter about the outcome. They should be celebrating the process, due process. And the FBI, unfortunately, in the last several years has gotten away from that. They're interested in the outcome. They want to make sure that they can get their scalps on the wall, particularly if you happen to hold certain ideologies, which are small government, because the FBI came to the conclusion that you are an enemy of its bureaucracy if you oppose its growth. It's attaining more power, more capabilities, more resources, more personnel. So the FBI just rewrote what it meant to be a domestic terrorist. And it said, if you oppose big government, then you need to be in our crosshairs.
Only a few months ago, it would have seemed insane to say this or to bet this way. But it looks like Kash Patel has a great shot of getting this position and becoming he's going to be in charge of the FBI. I mean, this is going to happen. So what do you think he's going to do? What do you think he's actually going to lay out? You've been on this show talking about what you think should happen, but what do you think he's actually going to do?
I think they're going to continue to follow through with the removals of people who just did not uphold their oath of office and said that just following orders was adequate. But I think that structurally, he's going to eliminate the intelligence collection. He talked about that. The FBI should not be in the business of secret policing, where they look at the American people as an opportunity to collect and collect long enough to then they have their person and let's just find a crime. Opposing the abuse of Section 702, where that information is gathered, then they look through it without a warrant. I think that's going to go away. They're going to do away with the quota system, specifically as it pertains to we're going to generate enough cases in particular violations, and we're going to get the right number of arrests, and we're going to give financial awards to senior executives for doing that. And we have the executive order come down from the Trump administration about diversity. Well, look, the FBI has core values, and I believe who you are, who you say you are. The reason that terrorists are scary is not because that it's true that they're going to blow themselves up and wake up with 70 virgins. It's that they believe that. And the FBI changed its core values and told you who they were. Sometime around early September of 2020, rigorous obedience to the Constitution is what Kash Patel referenced, was moved from the top of its core values to the bottom behind things like diversity. And that's why this executive order in combination with Kash Patel coming in, we're going to get capable people. We're going to train them to be FBI agents, and they're going to go out there and address the true threats to the country, and that's violent crime and fraud, and not be putting away people who are praying outside of an abortion clinic because the administration is unhappy with the Dobbs versus Jackson decision.
Steve, you talk about core values of the FBI, and it reminds me of something that you put out on X last week, and I put it out over the weekend, where they were taking paint to all the DEI buzzwords on the wall over there at the FBI. I couldn't be happier to see that. That really shows you just the times that we're in right now.
It certainly does. And I mean, look, even looking at that painting on the wall, it looks like it could be a grammar school. This is supposed to be the preeminent law enforcement agency. It's supposed to be the premier training institution for that. And there are problems with the Quantico, with the FBI Academy. James Comey, when he prioritized diversity, they started to admit people who were not capable. The Academy is supposed to train people who are meritorious and capable, and they just need to learn the skills. It's not supposed to be a washout program. But because they have admitted people who are not capable of being an effective agent, they are relying on the Quantico FBI Academy to wash them out, and they've made everything at that academy an assessment when it doesn't need to be that way. And as a result, it's created and fostered this environment where new agents, as they come in, they're looking over their shoulder constantly and worried that they're going to be evaluated, and that has now compounded on itself, and they are creating this environment of us versus them. And the agent class, as they've come out now, looks at the American people as them. They do not for a moment hesitate to put them in a box if it furthers the bureaucracy, if it furthers the success of the FBI. It's not a successful and a healthy way that you want to have law enforcement, particularly from the most powerful agency that we have in that sphere in the country. So hopefully painting over that, we're going to completely paradigm shift the way that we're training new people and get back to getting them up to speed on what it takes to be an effective FBI agent, but also knowing that our vetting as we've brought them in along the way, which can take 2, 3, or in my case, 4 years, is effective enough at getting the best possible people in a position to do the job.
All right, so DEI buzzwords gone. Jeffrey Epstein, though, buzzword that still sticks around. People are still very curious. And Senator Marsha Blackburn asked Kash Patel about the Epstein files. Here's what he had to say.
So will you work with me on this issue so we know who worked with Jeffrey Epstein in building these sex trafficking rings?
Absolutely, Senator. Child sex trafficking has no place in the United States of America, and I will do everything, if confirmed as FBI director, to make sure the American public knows the full weight of what happened in the past and how we are going to countermand missing children and exploited children going forward.
All right, Steve. So walk us through this, right? Would Kash actually have the authority to release all of these Epstein files and the flight list that we've heard so much about?
Well, as it came to classification, I mean, that's a criminal case for the most part, unless you're dealing with counterintelligence matters. It's all unclassified. And the bad guy here, your subject, is deceased. He has no expectation of privacy. And this should all be released. And if he can't do it and there's some sort of hiccup, he just needs to make a phone call up to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Because at this point, this case does not have anything where they're protecting sources and methods. They're not worried about a prosecution. The people who are participating in this vile and atrocious behavior need to be vetted out and they need to be publicized to the American people. We're done running protection. We're done using the apparatus and the apparatchiks within the federal government to protect the most powerful people. The mandate that the American people sent in November of 2024 was a populist mandate. It's that we're not going to be the Russias of the world and be governed by billionaire oligarchs who are able to engage in the most vile and atrocious behavior and then just be at a pay-for-play scheme and get away with it. Hopefully, Kash Patel will have what he needs to, and if he doesn't, I think that he's got the right amount of allies over at the White House in order to get this done and get it out to the American people.
Steve, I have to hear your take on two different sets of people right now. One, the suspendables, yourself and others. I'm sure everyone's been talking, everyone who's been persecuted before in the past from the Bureau. I'm curious what you guys are talking about, how this feels. And then two, I mean, you've been reporting on this. You have agents you think calling in sick because they want to support ICE. I mean, you got basically a rout. What's going on with all those who have a lot of reason to be scared right now?
Well, the conversations I'm having with the suspendables, the whistleblowers, and some of them are not as public as others, is that courage is contagious. We have had just an enormous amount of people from the inside wanting to be moles, and maybe they're sunshine patriots. But look, I'll take you if you're a bandwagon fan here, because we are in a twice-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I say twice because it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity about 29 months ago when I was escorted out, unpaid, indefinitely suspended forever. And too many people punked out. They did not come to back any of us up. There was just a small cohort, and that's why they're my best of friends now. But now that we have Kash Patel, now that we have a mandate, now that we have a paradigm shift, it's a second crack at it. And hopefully these people are going to continue to expose it and join the team here that's pushing the FBI to be an objective force for good again, which is a relief. Now, as it pertains to the ICE issues, this is true. I've heard it from multiple offices across the country that there is tremendous amount of pushback. Even within office gossip, there's people that are sitting there saying anyone who engages in this sort of behavior to assist ICE is a Nazi. Meanwhile, they're asking for volunteers. It's like the vaccine mandate all over again. Anyone who steps forward is going to be identified as conservative, and they're going to be fearful that they're going to face some sort of retaliation. And you even have executive managers who are insisting that they're not going to send their people for a couple of reasons. One being that they're fearful that they could get hurt because apparently they're not getting the adequate amount of training. There's too much cosplay going on within the FBI, and they don't do real police work. And the other is that there's a political ramifications. There's so many people who are in positions of high authority in the FBI now, running field offices, who are communist leftists and do not want to help and do not believe that a directive that is lawful, constitutional, ethical, and moral from the President of the United States is something that they want to go off with. Here's the reality. They are now exposing themselves. The mask is gone. They're self-identifying themselves, and they're going to be removed. And we have a proof of concept, and that was last Thursday and last Friday.
Steve Friend, great stuff as always. Thanks for coming on the show once again.
You got it.
Matthew, it's great to hear all of the updates. There are so many good ones in there, but it's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But help is on the way.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way around this being anything but incredibly good news. I mean, that little action step, that little test strategy on Thursday, Friday. I mean, I was up late watching Maddow just giggling. You know, I had the best time. They were freaking out. I mean, because this is real. This is what you actually need to do to go in and identify the people who did wrong and shouldn't be there. And this is the only way to fly. And we're, as you pointed out in the beginning, we're doing this before Kash Patel even sets foot in the building. We're ahead of schedule for once in my life on the right. It's amazing.
It just reminds me of, Kash Patel's not even the FBI director and we're already reforming it. And you're blackpilling right now?
Yes.
There are so many wins.
Many such cases.
Still out there to be had.